Live from San Diego, this is the Fox 5 News at 1.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg testifying once again today for a second day for about 5 hours, taking questions from Congress about privacy and your personal information.
We've got a lot of questions about what's going on here. Joining us around the table to talk further about this, SDSU professor Stephen Andres. Thanks for being here. You're going to answer some questions to kind of help us understand what's going on. Let's talk about the impacts that this could have on us when it comes to Cambridge Analytica and what was taken from us. A lot of people want to know, how can I protect my privacy? Does going in and changing your settings at this point actually protect you? And can you just kind of put into context what we've seen here over the last couple of days?
Sure. If you change your settings today, it's not going to protect you against a Cambridge Analytica style attack. But the good news is Facebook put those protections in 2014. So there's no need to protect yourself against that particular style of attack. They are rolling out a notification mechanism. So in the next few weeks, your viewers might see a notification at the top that says, you access this particular app that Professor Kogan from University of Cambridge developed. That's a personality quiz, and that is the source of the data that was later sold to Cambridge Analytica. Or you'll see a version, this one that you see up on the screen was actually from my personal Facebook page, where I didn't take the quiz, but one of my friends did. Now they won't tell me who it is, or else I'll go talk to them. But because of the rules that were in place prior to 2014, when that person took the quiz app and it took their data, it also took some rather public details about all of their friends as well. Things that are pretty anodyne, like the city that you're in, your public profile picture, and your gender.
Right.
So it didn't take very deep information.
All right, let me ask you, Stephen, about, so Facebook, we say got caught. It was really Cambridge Analytica that used our data. But as I've been listening in these last 2 days of this testimony, I often wonder, like, is Facebook being attacked here when the reality is everyone on the web is doing this, right? When I go into Amazon at home and I'm ordering my stuff on Amazon and putting them in my cart, the next day I come to work and I log onto my desktop and I have ads for the things that I was looking for on Amazon. Like, isn't this sort of something that all these big platforms are doing?
Absolutely. Targeted ads, they're here to stay. It's the way that we finance these large tech platforms. Facebook is one of the platforms that allows you to opt out of targeted ads. You can't opt out of advertisement, but you can go into your settings and you can say, I don't want targeted ads. So there'll be less of that. But all that means to you is you're going to get advertisements for something that isn't valuable to you. So if you have to see advertisements anyway, you might as well see the targeted ones.
Right, and this graphic we're looking at here is how you can sort of adjust that, correct?
Correct, yeah. On a desktop, you would go in the top right corner and go down to settings. And then there's 3 areas that your viewers should check out: privacy, apps, and also ads. And there are 3 different levels of settings. And this controls what information is shared with advertisers.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask about a regulation here. Mark Zuckerberg says that he expects fully that regulation is going to happen with this industry. In fact, I think we have a soundbite from what he had to say today. Let's go ahead and listen to that.
The internet is growing in importance around the world in people's lives, and I think that it is inevitable that there will need to be some regulation. So my position is not that there should be no regulation, but I also think that you have to be careful about what regulation you put in place for a lot of the reasons that you're saying. I think a lot of times regulation, by definition, puts in place rules that a company that is larger, that has resources like ours, can easily comply with, but that might be more difficult for a smaller startup to comply with. So I think that these are all things that need to be thought through very carefully when thinking through what rules we want to put in place.
So what regulations really are we talking about here that is reasonably expected to go in when it comes to social media?
I think the regulations that'll come out of this are more of your food labeling type of regulations, something that improves the consumer's information. So one of the things is the Honest Ads Act, and while it hasn't passed yet, it would require that online advertising be subject to the same rules as television advertising. So you know the party that is paying the money to host it. That's particularly interesting in the online world. Additionally, what Facebook committed to doing is that you would be able to see all the versions of that ad that advertiser is running. That's particularly interesting because I can make a political advertisement that only targets people in San Diego, and nobody in Washington, D.C. will ever see it. So how can they regulate it?
Right, really interesting. Okay, before we let you go, you brought up this point when we were talking in the break, the difference between ads and apps. Both are at play here in this discussion, and yet it seems to be that we're sort of mixing the two.
Absolutely, yeah, and today's testimony actually mixed in topics of censorship. So there's a lot of topics that people are passionate about related to Facebook, but I think they're extrapolated across all of online space and our interaction with online. and Facebook just happens to be a convenient target.
I want to ask you before we let you go also, if we can, about the political aspect of this. This is about privacy that we've been talking about with Mark Zuckerberg on Capitol Hill, but it's really turned into a political discussion in that the conservatives in the House, especially today, are saying, how can you silence conservative voices out there? And the Democrats are saying, well, how can you allow Cambridge Analytica to take our data and influence the election? How does this play, and how does Facebook play into the whole political landscape that we've seen over the last couple of years, and what kind of a tool has it become here? Because it really does have the potential to influence so many people.
Absolutely. It's difficult when Facebook is in the position where it's used for political speech. That's definitely not what was probably intended in 2004 when it was developed. So how do we go about limiting that? Well, we certainly don't want to say there are no rules, because that allows hate speech. So if there are some rules, it's always going to be a judgment call about which rules we put in. And that's a difficult spot that Facebook's at. They said they have 20,000 people reviewing content. When there's 10 billion pieces of content uploaded every day, there's no amount of people that can check that. None of us want a moderated Facebook where you have to have someone's permission to post, but we're going to have to accept that there's going to be some percentage of error in their classification of these political issues.
And so then we will see from here on out where, from the regulation side, where do we go from here? Stephen Andres from SDSU, really appreciate you coming here in the discussion today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.